October 22nd, 1934. Somewhere between Grand Island and North Platte, Nebraska, Union Pacific's M10,000 Streamliner accelerates past 100 miles per hour. The speedometer needle keeps climbing. 110, 115. Engineer Fred Ost watches the track blur. 120 miles per hour. In 1934. Ost writes in his logbook, speed sustained 120 miles per hour, approximately 3 minutes. Track condition excellent. No mechanical issues observed. Union Pacific classifies the logbook. It stays classified for 47 years. 7 months later, February 12, 1935, Kansas City. 47,000 people wait 6 hours in freezing weather just to see the Streamliner sit motionless on a siding. Union Pacific charges 25 cents admission. They make $11,750 in one day. In Chicago, 106,000 people tour the train. Newspapers call it the train of tomorrow. 8 years later, Union Pacific melts it down. Destroys most photographs, files blueprints as classified, or claims they were lost. When an engineer's widow tries to donate her husband's personal photos to a museum in 1991, Union Pacific's legal department contacts her. They request she destroy the photographs. She refuses. At Union Pacific has never explained why. This is the story of a locomotive that proved the future could arrive 15 years early, and why a corporation decided that future needed to be forgotten. 1933. The Great Depression had gutted passenger rail. Union Pacific's stock fell from $268 per share in 1929 to $11 in 1933. Trains ran nearly empty, but airline passenger miles increased 340%. The Boeing 247 could fly New York to Los Angeles in 19 hours. The fastest train took 72 hours. Railroads couldn't compete. Union Pacific's president, William Jeffers, looked at diesel-electric technology General Motors was testing. Small engines, lightweight, no boilers, no water stops. What if you built a passenger train around a diesel power plant and streamlined it to cut wind resistance? February 1934. Pullman-Standard delivered the M10,000. 3 articulated aluminum cars welded into a single 204-foot unit. Diesel-electric power in the nose. And total weight, 85 tons. A conventional steam passenger train of similar capacity weighed 400 tons. The streamlined design cut wind resistance by 60%. The 600-horsepower Winton diesel engine could push the train to speeds steam locomotives needed 2,000 horsepower to achieve. October 1934. UP sent the M10,000 on a Transcontinental test, Los Angeles to New York, 3,260 miles. Engineer Fred Ost opened the throttle across Nebraska. At 80 miles per hour, the ride was smooth. At 90, quieter than steam at 60. At 100, passengers could carry on normal conversations. Then the speedometer hit 120. Ost held it there for 3 minutes. The M10,000 rode smoothly. No hunting, no oscillation. Average speed for the entire run, 84 miles per hour including stops. Total time, 56 hours, 55 minutes. The previous record was 71 hours. And the M10,000 cut 15 hours off the fastest time ever recorded. Union Pacific had proof. Diesel-electric streamliners could revolutionize passenger rail. Then they classified the speed test results. The 120 miles per hour run? Not mentioned in press releases. The technical data? Filed as proprietary. The logbooks? Restricted access. Official statements emphasized comfort and fuel economy, not the fact they'd built a train that could outrun every steam locomotive by 40 miles per hour. Why classify success? The public tour answered nothing. 68 cities. At every stop, crowds overwhelmed expectations. Or Omaha, 55,000 people over 3 days. Chicago, 106,000. Kansas City extended their stop from 1 day to 3. The M10,000 became a cultural phenomenon, but Union Pacific didn't build more. Other railroads wanted to license the design. Burlington Railroad requested technical specifications, and Illinois Central wanted joint development. UP refused. They called the M10,000 experimental, not ready for production. Meanwhile, they assigned it to a Kansas City to Salina route, a 389-mile regional run. The train that crossed the continent at record speed never exceeded 80 miles per hour in revenue service. And other railroads didn't wait. Burlington built the Pioneer Zephyr. Illinois Central ordered streamliners. New York Central planned the Mercury. By 1936, streamliners operated on a dozen railroads. The Revolution Union Pacific started spread across the industry. But UP built only one more streamliner, the M10001, then stopped. And no fleet expansion. Just 2 experimental trains while competitors built dozens. Why? September 1942. Union Pacific announces the M10,000 will be scrapped for war effort aluminum. The train is 8 years old, mechanically sound, profitable on its route. But UP says the war needs the aluminum. They send it to the scrapyard. Cut up, melted down. Here's what doesn't add up. The M10,000 weighed 85 tons. That's 31% of the aluminum needed for one B-24 bomber. One bomber. The United States built 18,482 B-24s during World War II. The M10,000's aluminum was a rounding error, and other aluminum-bodied streamliners on other railroads weren't scrapped. Union Pacific's decision stands out as deliberate. Then the documentation disappeared. Photographs that newspapers had published became scarce. Requests to UP's corporate archives were denied. Blueprints vanished. When researchers asked for M-10,000 technical documents in the 1960s, the Pullman-Standard said their files were incomplete. Union Pacific claimed engineering records were destroyed in a 1952 warehouse fire. The Omaha Fire Department has no records of such a fire. Insurance records show no claims. By the 1970s, the M10,000 had become nearly invisible. But the train that started the streamliner revolution was less documented than trains that came later. The physical evidence was gone. The documentary evidence scattered or missing. 1991. The widow of former UP engineer Charles Eckhart contacted a museum in Omaha. Her husband had kept personal photos of the M10,000. She wanted to donate them. Union Pacific's legal department contacted her. They requested she not donate them to any public institution. They suggested the photos might contain proprietary technical information. Mrs. Eckhart refused. She donated them anyway. Why would Union Pacific care about 1934 streamliner photos in 1991? The technology was obsolete. No competitive advantage to protect, no patents valid. Yet, they clearly preferred the M10,000 remain obscure. One theory: corporate embarrassment. The M10,000 proved diesel-electric streamliners were viable in 1934. But Union Pacific didn't commit to dieselization until the late 1940s. They kept buying steam locomotives through 1944. The last big boy was delivered in 1944, 10 years after the M10,000 proved diesel was the future. Competitors moved faster. Burlington expanded their Zephyr fleet. Santa Fe dieselized. New York Central went diesel. UP fell behind. The M10,000 represented a missed opportunity. Better to let it fade than remind everyone Up had the answer in 1934 and didn't use it. Another theory is darker. The M10,000's 120 miles per hour capability in 1934 suggested speeds that wouldn't be matched in regular American service until the 1960s. If UP had publicized that capability, and the Interstate Commerce Commission might have asked uncomfortable questions. Why weren't railroads running faster service? Why did regulations limit speeds to 79 miles per hour without automatic train control? Was the industry holding back technology to avoid infrastructure investment? Keeping the M10,000's speed quiet meant avoiding those conversations. If the 120 miles per hour run remained classified, if documentation disappeared, nobody would ask why American trains weren't running 120 miles per hour in 1940 or 1950 or 1960. The M10,000 proved it was possible. Burying the evidence buried the expectation. The result was effective erasure. The locomotive that hit 120 miles per hour in 1934 became a footnote. The train that drew 106,000 visitors in Chicago exists in fewer photographs than obscure locomotives that never left their home states. The streamliner that should have defined an era was melted down, its documentation scattered, its achievements classified. Today, the M10,000 survives in scattered references. A few photos in private collections, brief mentions in histories. No preserved examples, no public technical documentation. The train of tomorrow became the train everyone forgot. But the numbers don't lie. October 22nd, 1934. 120 miles per hour. As 57 years before Amtrak would achieve similar speeds. The M10,000 proved the future could arrive early. Union Pacific chose to bury it instead. Sometimes what gets forgotten is more revealing than what gets remembered.